All right, guys. So in the last video, we finished the home article section here. Now we're going to start to work on the footer, which is also going to be a grid container. So let's go below the section here, and we'll just say footer, and let's give it a footer tag with an ID of main-footer. All right, and then inside here we're going to have the container class to move everything to the middle. I'm also going to add a class of footer container here, which will be the actual grid container. And inside here we're going to basically have 5 divs. Okay, if we look at the project here, we're going to set it to repeat for 1FR, so it has 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the next one gets knocked on to the next line. Now this last one here we want to span across all the way. Okay, so we're going to add a grid span as well. So let's add our first div, which is going to have that light logo. So we're going to say image. The source is going to be in the image folder, and it's going to be this logo light.png. Okay, we'll just say news grid. And then underneath that, I'm going to put a paragraph, excuse me, and we'll say, let's do lorem 30. Actually, let's do 20. I think that's what I want. So that's the first div, and the next one is going to be the email newsletter. So let's do an H3 and say email newsletter, and then we're going to do a paragraph. Let's say lorem. We'll do lorem 8, and under the paragraph we're going to have a little form. Oops, we want to get rid of the action. And inside here we're going to have an input. Let's give it a type of email, since this is going to be an email field. We don't need a name and ID. We will put a placeholder. Oops. And we'll say enter. We'll say enter email. And then we want a submit button, so I'm going to do an input with the type of submit. And for the value, we'll say subscribe. And let's also give this a class of BTN, and I want to do BTN and primary. All right, so the next thing we want is the links here. So these site links, which aren't going to go anywhere, but it's just for the aesthetics of the site. So let's say div, and we're going to have an H3 and just say site links, and then a UL. Now this UL I'm going to give a class of list, and I want it to be basically like a utility class so that we can use this in other places as well. And as far as the list items go, we're going to have links to just nowhere. This first one is going to be help and support. Copy this down a couple times, 4 times, and let's do privacy policy. So just some common pages you see on websites. We'll do about us, and this one here, let's do contact. Okay, now the next grid item is going to be a div as well. And this is going to be the join our club. So we're going to do an let's do an H2, and we'll say join our club, and then let's put a paragraph, and we'll do lorem 10, and then under that we'll have an A tag with the class of BTN and class of BTN secondary. And let's just say in here, we'll say join now. Okay, and then the final div is just going to be a paragraph, and in that paragraph we'll say copyright. Let's do ampersand copy semicolon, which will give us a little copyright symbol. 2019, all rights reserved. All right, so that's all of our HTML. Let's check it out. So it's going to look very, very ugly. So we'll head over to our CSS, and we have some utility classes to create, but we're going to just start on the footer itself first. So let's say footer. We have an ID. We have an ID of main-footer. Now the footer, I'm going to give the dark color as its background. So var, let's do dash dash dark color, and let's make the actual color, the text, white. Okay, so I'll save that. Now the image is obviously way too big, so let's say main dash image, not main image, main footer, and then target the image. And we want to set the width to, let's do 150 pixels. All right, and I want all the links to be white, so let's say main footer, all the A tags, we want the color to be white. And now we're going to work on the grid and aligning these. We want them to go in, obviously we want to create some columns, so we're going to say main footer, and we're going to grab onto the footer dash container, and we're going to say display grid. And then as far as the grid template columns, we're going to do repeat, and let's repeat 4 times 1 fraction, and let's add a grid gap, spread them apart a little bit, so we'll say 1.5 rem and save, and now you can see that they're all aligned. Now we have some other design to do, styling to do, like this form here, also the list, but this last one here, this copyright, I want this to span all the way across, so I'm going to target that by saying main footer, and let's say we want from the footer container a direct element that is the last child. So even if it wasn't a div, it doesn't matter what kind of element, we're going to target it. And then we're going to set the background to, let's do 444. And if we save that, you can see it's stuck in here, so we want to span it all the way across. And you guys remember how to do that. We're going to do grid dash column, and we want to start at the first column, and then we want to span across 4. Okay, we have 4 total. So we'll save that, and now it spans all the way across. Let's just add a little bit of padding here. We'll say 0.5 rem. Let's also text align to the center, and I want to make the font size just a little smaller, so we're going to do 0.75 rem and save. All right, so let's see, the footer itself, actually, you know what, let's add a padding class to the footer. So up here we'll say class. Remember, we have the PY, which is top and bottom. We'll do PY2 and save. So now this right here, the form, the little email form, I want to style that. So let's target main footer, and let's do footer container. And we're going to grab the input, and I'm going to say I want the input that has the type that is equal to email. Okay, and I'm going to set the width to 90%, and let's set padding, let's say 0.5 rem, and let's do a margin bottom of 0.5 rem. All right, so we'll save that. So that looks pretty good. Now for this button here, I just want to set that width to 90% as well. So remember that main footer, that's an input, and we want to say where the type is equal to submit. And then I just want to set the width to 90%, which didn't work because we need a semicolon. Okay, so that looks pretty good. One thing that I forgot to do is for the paragraphs, I want all paragraphs to have a little bit of margin. You see how this is so close right here and right here. So I'm just going to add, let's go up top here to like our core styles, and let's put in paragraph, and we'll say for the margin top and bottom we want to do 0.5 rem. So that just adds a little bit of space. All right, so I think that looks pretty good. Let's handle the list. Now, like I said, I want to be able to use the list class in other places as well. So we're going to add this as a utility class. So let's go, let's see, we'll go right under the padding here. And let's say dot list. Actually, we don't need to style the list itself, the UL. Let's just do the LI. And I just want to add padding. We'll say 0.5 rem top and bottom. And let's add a border bottom of 555 dotted 1 pixel. And then I want to set the width to 90% and save. Okay, so that looks pretty good. All right. Oh, you know what? Let's excuse me. Let's do a hover state. Let's make the hover the primary color. So we'll say list. Let's do, whoops, we want to do dot list LIA hover. And let's say we want the color to be var primary color. And now, okay, that's not working. I'm not sure why that's not working. We've list LI a hover. You know what? Let's add an important flag here. See if that works. All right, there we go. Okay, so that's our list styling, and I think that's it. I think that's it for the footer. So in the next video, we're going to start to work on the inner pages. We have an about page. We also have an article page. So we'll create those, and then we'll start to work on the mobile version for the website.